What, we some kind of suicide squad?
After a long catalog of delays, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is now out. And
what more do you want from me?
For starters, just the amount of controversies getting here has been a train wreck in itself. A large chunk of the game got leaked by hackers, making people lose their mind about the story months before the game even came out. Developers unfortunately passed away during the process of even making the game. Some can even say caused by the negative response by the fans. One of the most recognizable voice actors in the game, and honestly voice actors period, Kevin Conroy, unfortunately passed away the year prior. But alas, at a whopping 3 years after this game was supposed to get here, you too can play Fortnite for over $100. What were they thinking? Now before I absolutely shit on this game, there are a couple redeeming qualities. First of all, graphically this game is very well polished. The face models and motion capture I think are the best that we've seen from Rocksteady so far, even though I feel it being included in the Arkham verse is a lazy cop-out for pre-established world building. It is kinda cool to see some Easter eggs. While I find most of the characters to be pretty bland and unbearable, I do think King Shark was like one of the very few redeeming qualities as far as the characters go in the game, and calling him a well fleshed out character is like calling Ned Leeds a well fleshed out character. Outside of the stupid stamina bar, some of the traversal is cool. Again, I think King Shark probably has the best, and the next I'd probably say is like Deadshot. The jetpack is cool for what it's worth. I think the most interesting one in concept was Captain Boomerang's, but that one gets really repetitive very fast. And then Harley Quinn's traversal just looks like what the Avengers game tried doing for Spider-Man swinging mechanics. And yeah, there's gotta be something else here, right? Nope. Nope. Oh yeah, yep, that was the last one. Anyway.
I got motion, not a dime shield, quarter shield token. Turned up, see the bitch having motion.
The gameplay in this mess has to be one of the most unsatisfying things next to cracking a 2 out of 10. And this goes for a lot of things in the game, next to the boss fights and the fucking story. Nothing in this game gets any kind of satisfying conclusion. No matter how you build your characters or how you choose to play as them, no matter how creative you are, it's still as interesting as watching paint dry. Harley Quinn has a gun. King Shark has an even bigger gun. Deadshot, he's really good with guns. Even Captain fucking Boomerang has a gun. Even though the characters all play different, you're still just shooting a gun at the same kind of robots. That's honestly what makes it worse. The enemy types in this game are just awful. It's not challenging at all, it's just painfully repetitive. And while I understand why for what they were going for, in the end it just gets boring after a while. But let's talk about these boss fights. In the game called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I'm actually one of the few people that doesn't care that they actually killed the Justice League, you know? I never really understood the argument surrounding that. And that's what annoys me the most. A lot of stuff in this game, in concept, sounds really cool. But like everything else in execution, it just sucks. Like the only boss in the game, if you can even call it a boss, was the first interaction with Batman you had. That's mainly because it puts you on the defensive. Like that kind of stuff is cool.
This is my exit. So long.
But aside from that, the most interesting parts of the game is when you're not actually playing at all. It's the cutscenes. And that's mainly what people came here for. They knew that they marketed the fact that it was in the Arkham verse. They're gonna have people itching for a new game that they haven't had in what, 8 to 10 years? So I think everybody universally agreed after seeing what the gameplay looked like that they'd only be going for a solid story. But unfortunately we didn't even get that. Due to the fact that I know this was probably the last game they wanted to make. There were scrapped sequels to the Arkham games regarding Damian Wayne, and then another one that ended up being used for Gotham Knights. So this really is the child nobody wanted. Which is why I think even after so many years and delays, this game still feels lazy in a way. Like the boss fights seem lazy, the story beats seem really lazy. It just baffles me how a game that was announced my freshman year of high school and is now out midway through my senior year feels so rushed. For example, the first boss fight in the game is the last boss fight in the game. You do it twice. If you anticipated a huge boss fight with Brainiac, you'd be dead wrong. When he first turned himself into the Flash, it had me thinking it was going to be a really long drawn out fight where he turns into every individual member of the league. Or maybe it would have been cooler if he combined them all together in some way. I don't know, something creative. But no, he turns into the Flash for like 5 seconds. He has the same moveset. After you shoot him a bunch of times, the same way that you do to the Flash, he just falls to the ground and that's it. And I don't know if I was supposed to expect anything else given the fact that every member of the Justice League you kill goes out in the most midway possible. You'd be surprised with how many people I watched play the game on YouTube, and every time they ended a boss fight, they all said the same thing. That's it? The Flash, there's a lot of build up for that boss fight, but you just shoot him and he falls on his back. I have mixed feelings on this Flash. I mean, I think it's really cool that he's voiced by Heimdall from God of War Ragnarok. That was like the coolest part about it. Flash gets brainwashed and acts just like Ezra Miller does in real life.
I'll break your fingers.
But aside from that, his costume is way too robotic and bug-eye looking, and I don't know. Batman's costume is okay, I guess. I have my gripes with it. It's really hard to mess up Green Lanterns. I just like the fact that we're getting some Jon Stewart representation. Wonder Woman's costume was actually pretty cool too. But yeah, these boss fights just get increasingly underwhelming. The same thing happens to Green Lantern. At least with this one, you find a weakness. The objective is just to spray bullets at him until he falls, and that's exactly what happened. They also try to force this weird arch-nemesis dynamic between the only two black characters in the Suicide Squad and the League. Like, when was the last time you've seen Jon Stewart and Deadshot being arch enemies? So they give them super forced dialogue like this.
Deadshot, we're gonna get creamed if we don't get out of here.
What do you mean by that?
You should listen to the Section 8 here. You are gonna get creamed.
So Deadshot just puts a slug in his head. And that's it. Next to go was Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was not corrupted this whole time, so we didn't even get a boss fight for her, which is fine. I actually didn't mind Wonder Woman at all in this game, and she definitely was a highlight. But the way she dies is also stupid. I mean, it's cool to see her get burnt to a crisp or whatever, but it just doesn't feel earned. The fight scene she has with Superman is super just bleh. And on top of that, there are like zero stakes. We don't know or care about this Superman or this Wonder Woman. We're only familiar with this Batman. And oh my god, how they do this Batman. Alright, let's just get this out the way. If the inclusion of the Arkhamverse didn't feel lazy enough, how they do this Batman that has been a part of their franchise for over a decade is so much worse. I already felt the way we were killing the Justice League, which is the whole premise of the game anyway, to be pretty lame, but oh my god, none of us were ready for this. Spoiler alert, all the leaks were true. He just turns into a huge bat demon and we shoot him until he screams, "No!" What the fuck is this shit? And there you have it. Batman is there just sitting there bloody, shot up, and defeated. But might I remind you, 3 regular people with the inclusion of a shark. I mean, Deadshot has an inhuman ability to shoot really good, and Captain Boomerang has an inhuman ability per se to throw a boomerang. But other than that, the squad is made up of just primarily 3 human beings and then another metahuman. The fact that they have this much plot armor to kill the entire Justice League and they don't mind killing is just baffling to me, bro. You know what a real fight with this Justice League and the Suicide Squad would have looked like?
Just another dead clown.
And on top of that, how do you out-plot armor Batman? His games are literally you beating his entire rogues gallery in one night. This man has fought like 14 Suicide Squads in the last 4 games. You mean to tell me he loses to Joker's girlfriend, Captain Boomerang, Will Smith, and a shark? The Suicide Squad beat him, but apparently the Bat family couldn't. And the way that they killed off Robin off screen was just the most backhanded shit I've ever seen.
That's got Robin. Talk about cutting out the middleman.
Anyway, you've seen the clip days before the game even came out.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
They drag this man around until they just put him on a park bench. Harley Quinn has a stupid monologue that really goes nowhere, and after Batman is just like, bitch, can you shut the fuck up? She one-pumps this man when he has no shields, bro. Anyway, now it's Superman's boss fight, and I'll let you guess what they do next. They shoot him. You just fire your gun to him until he eventually just dies from cringe. And you feel exactly 0 satisfaction from it. But with all that done, all that's left is Brainiac. Golly, this design is ass. I got Brainiac out here looking like a ass caterpillar. Straight up looks like somebody played Got Your Nose and never gave it back to his ass. Anyway, his boss fight comes shortly after, and I already know how that turned out. Right after they bring him back to the Hall of Justice, Amanda Waller kills him, and before it ends, they inject the live service aspect of the game. If you didn't know this already, the game has a whole battle pass, and they include that in the story by ending off with you being tasked to kill 12 more Brainiacs. And I believe that there are 12 seasons, if this game's even gonna run for that long. But yeah, you high five and the game is over. I feel like this is one of the rare cases where if you had asked me if you should buy the game, I would just tell you it's a complete waste of your money. You know, that's not a problem for me though, because, you know,
I got motion, not a dime shield, quarter shield, toe.
Jokes aside, I wouldn't spend your money on this game. The coolest parts are the cinematics, and it's all styled, no real substance. Which sucks, because as harsh as I am on this game, I think it had potential to be really, really cool. I mean, most people didn't know about the Suicide Squad until what, 2016, 2017? And now we have this game where the Suicide Squad has never felt blander. I mean, it's not as bad as the first movie, but I really like the character of Floyd Lawton, and he just felt really flat in this game. Boomerang and Shark definitely had their moments in the game where it was pretty funny, but there's so much going on and so much joking to the point where it kind of kills some of the jokes that do land because of just how many there are. It's kind of like a Thor Love and Thunder situation, but I will definitely say King Shark had the funniest line in this game.
That's something you taught me, son. Keep it together, Shark.
Sharko, are you crying?
I have a complicated relationship with my father.
Join the club, man.
You and me both,
Haven't you,
Sharky.
mine?
But honestly, I think the thing that bugs me the most is the fact that this game is now another multiverse story. So it kind of erased all sense of stakes for me, knowing that the consequences of whatever happened in this universe could be completely different in another one. And on top of that, they kind of shot themselves in the foot by releasing trailers for DLC characters before the game even came out. I mean, have you seen what the Joker looks like in this game?
At least buy me dinner first.
So if they're bringing back dead characters from previous games to the multiverse now, what do you think they're probably gonna do with the Justice League members that were killed in this game? And I don't know, just me personally, I'm tired of all the multiverse stuff we've been getting the last couple years. It just sounds like that's all writers want to make in the superhero genre right now. And I don't know, it's just not for me. And honestly, maybe that's just the game itself. Maybe the game is not that bad, and it's just not for me. For anyone upset for the fact that Batman got borderline executed in this game in the lamest way possible, Rocksteady's old team has been leaving since Arkham Knight. I believe before they even started making Arkham Knight, the original writers who worked on Asylum and City already left. And I know that caused some not to like Arkham Knight that much. But they really doubled down in this game, so for those of you saying Rocksteady's fall off needs to be studied, I agree, but it's very clear that the old team who worked on the games that primarily everybody loves are no longer a part of the team.
You know why I think that companies insist on shitting on their own legacy? This is my opinion. I think it's the ego of the writers to think that they can do a better job than the people that came before them that wrote the games that they're basing their career off of. So it's like they want to kill off the old characters so they can then make their characters the main story. Because, and like, I get it, right? It's like you don't want to kind of ride somebody else's horse. But I would even argue that, like, if you don't want to ride somebody else's horse, you don't want to carry on that legacy, then why the fuck are you working at a company that makes video games about Batman?
And yeah, he's absolutely right. But with all that being said, it is just a video game. So let me know how you felt about the game in the comments, and I will have to give this game an unfortunate number score of 5 out of 10.